Hello and welcome to the next special episode of How Not Die at Work. You do things I tell you, and as long as you do things I tell you, you not die. If you do the things I tell you, you will of course die.
I think you are forgetting to say, and safety is our number one priority.
Safety is no priority. I will be telling you what priority is.
Welcome everybody to the Evil Safety Dudes. As my partner in crime brought up, we
There
are
are no safety
all
people
about
here.
how not to die at work. We're the show that covers everything from getting sucked into a machine, shot by an active killer, and we jump into it, and we keep you guys fresh on the OSHA
If you
updates.
call me a dude one more time, I'm going to come across this
Dude.
table with everything I have.
All right. So with that, I'd like to welcome you guys back. This is show number 11, man. We've gotten 10 done. This is
Dude,
11.
we've been rolling.
Yeah, this is pretty awesome. And what are we doing today? Today's specific podcast is going to be on cold weather because we're in Iowa and we're still in the dead of winter. And that's
Midwest
important.
in February, man.
It's important. All you out in Southern California, I don't want to hear it.
Hanging out Florida, Texas.
Yeah. For those of you in the Midwest and up in the northern regions, this one's for you. And obviously, you guys are already probably experts, but we're going to deal with it from an occupational health and safety standpoint as well.
Hopefully it teaches some things you may never have heard before about cold weather safety, so that'll be good.
Before we get too deep, I want to introduce you all to my partner, Mr. AJ Hanscom. He is an occupational health and safety. He's an OSHA outreach instructor.
Oh, indeed I am, in the general industry and construction.
Yeah.
And joining me in the IBC fort is Mr. Aaron Iacino, also an instructor or an authorized OSHA outreach instructor.
It's a podcast
general industry
it's not
and
just
construction.
the fort, it's the podcast fort.
I refuse. It's the fort.
If we just have a fort as grown men, that's weird.
No.
It has to have a responsible reason to exist.
I completely disagree. I think as you get older, you just build better forts. That's all that happens.
I mean, our fort is pretty cool. So next time you guys are getting training in the IBC Safety Training,
do not tell me what I can and can't do with fort. This is my fort.
Downtown Sioux City, definitely asked to see the podcast for. All right, so before we get into kind of the big chunk of the show, we always kind of like to figure out what's been going on. Because, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but AJ and I, we really don't hang out all day.
No, we hardly get to see each other.
Yeah, he's off on, he could be teaching day 3 of an OSHA 30, and I'm in some other state helping a client through OSHA investigation. So, we always like to catch up, and we like to catch up with you all, and you all have to just bear it. So here it goes, AJ. What's new with you, my friend?
So I finally decided to go ahead and get rid of the No Shave November beard.
Okay, how many people are thankful for that?
Well, honestly, people were surprised. So I guess it was all right. It was the first time I'd ever decided to keep a beard. But now everybody's like, "Oh no, you shaved it." But at the same time, I'm kind of like, it's easier to not have an extra thing to take care of.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was a respectful beard though.
Well, I thank you.
A lot of guys can't grow a respectful beard. So
well, I will take it.
Yeah. Cool.
How about you, Aaron? You got any personal updates? Anything you've been doing different lately?
I broke my toes.
They've been broken for a little while now.
Yeah, but I haven't told the listening audience that. Kickboxing, clashing legs, throwing hard kicks, and I was the older guy, so my bones gave out before the younger guy, and so that sucks. But I'm healing up fine. So
well, that's good.
Yeah. You know what's cool? Steel toe boots.
Steel toe boots.
I wear steel toe boots about every day, and they are like a walking boot for me.
Well, yeah.
They really keep my toes from bending too much.
Oh, yeah, the whole front, very inflexible part of the front of the boot.
Even when I'm not at work and I'm not required to wear them, if I'm just going to the store, I'm putting on my steel toes just because of my injury at this point.
And that's funny we're bringing up steel toe boots on a day where we're talking about cold weather stuff because steel toes actually come up every single time we talk cold weather.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that want to start a fight about this, and I'm cool with arguing, but I believe it's a myth. Although I've heard people swear up and down. I've just been in this industry in a while, in construction, worked many winters outside. I have never dealt with a hypothermic toe amputation due to a steel toe collecting the cold and freezing a toe off. How about you, AJ?
I am also, same boat. I never had it come up before. However, I will say when I do wear, and I always wear steel toes. I've never actually gone down to buying composite. But wearing steel toes, I feel like my toes do get chilly. Stand up on a rooftop or stand in a snowbank, like they do get chilly.
Right.
And guys that go the composite route, they switch to them and they say, "Yeah, my toes feel warmer." I still haven't tried them out.
I've had a lot of construction workers say they will not wear them in the winter because they don't want to lose their toes. And
The frostbite.
yeah, I mean, wear some wool socks. I mean,
Yeah, keep your toes warm.
yeah, or buy composite. I don't think it's a real issue. I think it's a myth.
Well, and here's what kind of bugs me, and I'm not throwing stones. Maybe I shouldn't even say this, but look at all like the kids that run around in just like rubber boots for like an entire day from sun up to sundown, playing in the snow, and they're not losing their toes.
Well, these guys are saying that the steel is
right. It's transferring the cold.
Yeah, it's like collecting it, and
It's
putting a little
thermal conductor,
little ice cube in their boot.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll dig a little deeper into that.
We work with thousands of guys, and I would say more than half of them wear steel toes, and all those guys work outside.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so moving on. So we're continuing to talk about cold weather. Got through the personal updates. As far as like OSHA case study on this was kind of hard for us.
It's a weird one
to research because of OSHA's regs on this. But one thing that I do know, I'll share a personal story.
Okay.
We were building an ethanol plant here in Iowa, freezing. I'm talking freezing out. January, Iowa, middle of a cornfield, right?
Very cold.
Beginning of the plant. So they're not structures, no inside work. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible time outside. And I'm looking for this crew. I can't find this crew. It's about, 7 to 10 guys. Like, where's this crew? Where's this crew?
A lot of people to be missing.
I can't find them. I'm doing a safety inspection. I got to lay eyes on every single person. And so I go and I look in their pull-behind trailer, right?
Okay.
And I crack the door open, and there they are. They're all huddled in there taking a warming break, but the issue was they had a propane heater in a trailer running
with no ventilation. Doors shut up.
Yeah. And so I was really worried about some kind of poisoning.
Yeah, maybe even like carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide
all
inhalation.
That burning.
I didn't have my 4-gas meter. Had I had it on me and opened the door, like knew what was going on and just got that reading, it would have been scary. The smell was definitely there.
Oh, yeah.
And, besides the fact that they were storing flammable chemicals in that trailer.
While they're running the propane heater?
The bonding adhesives and these spray glues. It was an insulation crew, so highly flammable chemicals by the box load, and then this huge ignition source. So you got poisoning of the guys, you got a fire hazard, and that was all due because of the winter weather.
Man. I mean, kudos to them for actually taking that extra minute and actually trying to warm up, because that's something that, kind of gets to me, whether it be cold weather or hot weather, when you hear somebody just completely disregard somebody else and just say, just suck it up.
Right.
That bugs the crap out of me, because it's like, man, that's how you make injuries happen. Somebody just forcing people to work through real horrible, real rough conditions when they can't handle it, and they're just like, just suck it up.
Right. I mean, it's a real issue. We used to have these wind chill charts.
Yeah.
It's a tongue twister. Wind chill chart.
Wind chill
chart. Wind chill charts. But you look at the temp and then the mile per hour of the wind, and it tells you how long they could be outside before frostbite sits in on limbs. Geez. And it was jacked up because on some of the days, it was literally like you can only work 15 minutes outside.
Oof.
Before you got to come in for, like, the break was longer than you were allowed to work. And I'm talking about like 0 with high winds and made it like 30 below.
Right.
And those some extreme conditions, which we face every year in Iowa, you're taking warming breaks more than you're actually working.
Well, yeah.
But the guys still get paid, so they actually voluntarily say, let's keep working today. Yeah. But you couldn't even get squat done. I'm talking 15 minutes of work, then you got to go break for a half hour, 20 minutes, 15 minutes of work. I mean, your productivity goes, down, and it's almost not worth doing it. But more and more and more, I see more and more construction companies outside working through the winters. Construction workers used to get the winter off, but that's not the case anymore. How about some of your construction contractors? Are they working through this winter?
Oh, they're all working through the winter.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's taking the winter off.
No.
And they're all, it's cold. There's snowbanks to stand in. There's rooftops to stand on. Sometimes in some of the places, they'll be like right outside of a plant. And so the place is like warming itself. And there's like a bunch of like mush and like nasty mud and stuff they got to stand in that's just soaking into everything. Just making cold weather really, really difficult.
For sure. Let's talk about some new tech. What do you know about new technology for outdoor winter weather working?
So one of the things I was looking at that I thought was really cool, I saw an ad for, I don't know how long this particular style's been around. I just thought it was a neat idea. It was a shirt or a sweater. You can get it in both styles. But it had like a great big, like a thermal warming pack right across the shoulder blades. And you just had a little button like next to your hip. You could just click a button and it would just warm it up and keep it on for a little while and then it would turn off.
It's electric?
Yeah.
How do you charge it?
I'm not sure. I didn't really look further into it. I just saw it in an ad and was
So
like, oh,
it's
that's kind of neat.
like electric blanket shirt.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I thought that was, yeah, it was really small, like very, very discreet, tucked away.
Is it like an undershirt or like your overshirt?
It looked like the outside, like an overshirt. Like
Okay.
that could be the shirt that you're wearing, so you could wear it under your jacket.
Right. So that's cool. I haven't seen that one yet, but I've noticed, I haven't ever purchased one, but I've seen around here a lot is these jackets that you put your tool battery into. It has a little pocket, and like a lot of these major tool manufacturers are making them now, DeWalt, Milwaukee, things like that. You slap that battery in there, and then you got a heated jacket. And so you already got the battery for it because you got 100 of those for your tools. So I would like to try one of those out, but that's kind of new tech in for cold weather working.
And they're not too bad. I've just never checked them out. They're about $200 depending on the style
jacket
that you
or
like.
the shirt.
The jacket. Well,
You know, that's not a big deal because I've
No.
spent that much before on a good Carhartt and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh man, they've got fancy ones. Ooh. Yeah, this is pretty cool. So you just slip that little battery right into the pocket and it clicks into the jacket and the jacket warms. That's pretty cool.
Let's talk about OSHA cases with this. There's not a lot out there, but one that I've worked literally last week. This was literally last week I worked this one.
Okay.
Where there was a dispute between coworkers. One was a manager, like a foreman. The other one was, like a laborer. And they were having personal issues, but the laborer was also upset that the foreman had not bought him new winter weather gear.
Oh.
Yeah, like your bibs, like
your
Carhartt,
personal
your
take-home
Polar
weather
Kings.
clothes.
Yeah, and they actually called OSHA and complained. They had other complaints too,
Okay.
but that was one of them. And so I got brought in. A legal team was brought in. It was this big mess. Everybody was scared.
Now, just before you continue on,
All right.
this is just to test myself. I know I've gone over the PPE regs, extensively, and I believe there's a special part where it specifically uses the wording weather-related gear for personal use
What
or
about
something
it?
like that. Like your employer is not required to
That's
provide
correct.
weather gear.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
complaint was not legit.
Okay.
Now, that's just OSHA. If the
Right.
company had said, we promise every time we're going to buy you this gear, and every time it wears out, we're going to get you new gear, and the foreman just won't get his booty into gear to order it, then,
Right.
then that's a beef, but OSHA wouldn't have anything to say on it because the OSHA reg is, like with steel toe boots and like winter wear, and they don't have to provide that for you.
Well, we both know how important policies can turn out to be for your company. What do you think about this, Aaron? What if somebody at their company wrote a policy saying that every year you get such and such allowance for, let's not say tools, let's say PPE.
Right.
And then that person wanted to use that on weather gear or whatever, and they were starting to get rejected. You think that could turn into an OSHA thing because it's now a written company policy?
Well, OSHA can cite you for not following your own policies. So if we make rules within our company that exceed OSHA's rules, we want to make sure we're following them.
Yeah, so you got to be careful what you write down, I suppose.
All right. So, yeah, but employers are not required to buy it. Some do, but they're not required to. It's nice when they do.
Yeah, heck yeah.
That stuff's expensive.
Yeah. We actually had that come up often, and it always comes up when it starts getting cold out. But I've got a few companies that give their employees like a credit card or a debit card, and then it'll actually have their toolbox allowance. And so they'll say every year you get to have X amount of dollars to refill your toolbox or replace broken tools or whatever you might need. And some of those guys will be like, well, you know what? All my tools are good, so I'm going to start using this on like hoodies and gloves and all this other stuff. And then they start getting in trouble because they're not supposed to be spending their tool money on like PPE.
Right. And technically it's not PPE, like hoodies.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's
If it's a glove.
cold weather. But
Yeah. So some things don't work good in the cold. Speaking of PPE, So a lot of contractors now and a lot of plant workers wear cut-resistant gloves
Sure.
with a non-slip finish.
Mm-hmm.
Simple 13 gauge cut level 3 type of glove. And it's like a Spider-Man clothes. It's super form-fitting, high
Right.
dexterity. Love them to death. Love them, love them, love them. However, wintertime, if you're like, oh, I got a glove, and you put those on,
Oh no.
they're not going to cut it, for insulation.
Was that a cheap one? They're not gonna cut it.
They're not going to cut it.
Ba-doom-ps.
Dun-dun-ch. No,
That was
it-
terrible.
in
I'm
my
leaving.
opinion, I think that, kind of like the claim with the steel toe is attracting the cold. Like I feel like my hands get colder wearing those, but they're so thin. I've seen people put on actual winter gloves on the outside.
Oh heck yeah!
And
I've
that's
seen that plenty.
what I actually recommend that
Mhm.
because check it out. We had this guy. He had some gloves on. There's a lot actually cuts in the hand in the winter
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
because you got these super fat thermal insulated thick gloves on. You got to do something high dexterity, so you pull them off.
Yeah.
When you're actually physically touching stuff,
Mhm.
boom, you have a bad cut,
Well, yeah, you took those gloves off. You have no hand protection.
and you needed it at that
Mhm.
exact time. So if you have those real thin, high dexterity, cut resistant gloves on under like a big winter glove, and when you have to do something high dexterity, then you pull off your winter glove, you still have the exact protection you need.
Yeah, that's actually how you should totally do it.
But I remember, I don't know, it was a year or so ago, you found a contractor, a thermal insulated cut resistant gloves.
Yep, and now they order both styles. So they still have the same. They got a real thin one. They got Cat 2, and then they got a real thick one. They got a big Cat 6.
Nice.
And so they carry both in the warm weather and in the cold weather. And those cold weather ones, they're like mittens. Like they're nice and comfortable and fluffy.
Toasty.
Mm-hmm. And the front, instead of it being Kevlar, it's this cut resistant rubber. I don't know if it's like a polyurethane or something, but it's like a really cool and it's breathable. So even me, like I borrowed a pair and like I shoveled my my old driveway a couple times with them on. My hands didn't get sweaty. Like I still had
Oh,
a good
that's good.
grip. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they actually could breathe without warming up or cooling down too much. They were pretty nice. I liked them.
I've seen a lot of issues in the winter with guys fully geared up. They come into the job trailer. They go into the office. They got to go to the parts store. They got to go somewhere where it's warm. They end up being there a minute. They start sweating.
Yeah.
They start stripping that stuff
Yep,
off.
all the layers.
But then they go back out in the cold and don't put it back on. Sweaty.
Yeah.
So I've seen issues with that. So, layering I think is key. One thing that I love because I grew up in the desert and I hate the cold are scarves. But
You lose a lot of heat in the neck.
yeah, for sure. But I cannot get construction workers to wear scarves. It's like against their, they feel their man card would be revoked if their buddy saw them in a scarf.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's certain construction workers, and I would probably agree with that. But I got a couple of them that I could think of off the top of my head. They got a real nice big poofy scarf wrapped up and tucked under their coat,
You've seen a construction
Oh,
worker
yeah.
wear a scarf?
all the way up to his ears, man.
You
And
should get a picture of that.
It looks like grandma's like handmade knitted. Like it's
Yeah,
just like
that's awesome.
super poofy.
Now, obviously, there's machine guarding issues if you got long pieces of scarf hanging around and stuff like that. But
Right.
it's really important to layer up, get that neck covered. Let's talk about some of the different winter weather options out there, like the hand warmers, the little thing you crunch up. You're supposed to put in your gloves or boot feet warmers.
I mean, both are good as long as you read the instructions in the packet and like you adhere to them, like you actually follow them. Like some of them will actually get so hot, they'll tell you right there, don't open it up and or don't snap it and then put it in a glove because it's gonna sit in your hand, it's gonna burn your hand. So
Wow.
they'll tell you to like snap
That
them
sounds
open.
good to me.
They'll tell you to snap them and like put them in your pockets. That way, whenever you want to warm your hands up, you can put your hands in your pockets and your pockets are warm. But like they'll tell you that same thing. Don't snap them and then put them in your boot because then it'll burn your toes or it'll burn the skin that's touching it.
I had to
Stuff like
work
that.
outside like 8 hours, right?
Okay.
And it was freezing. And so I bought some of those to try them, and I crunched them up, and I threw them directly in my gloves.
Okay.
And they quit working after a while.
Well,
And I
yeah, the
was like-
chemical process is only supposed to last for so long.
I was like, this is terrible. So I pulled them out, and I was reading them.
These are garbage. Throw in the trash.
And it says you actually have to shake them every now and then.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So for 8 hours, I looked like a disturbed individual because every like 15 minutes, I would just start waving my hands frantically. But I was trying to activate the chemical, and it does work. It does work, but
you just had to keep stopping when your hands got
if you-
chilly, and you
if
just
you
wave
didn't-
at nothing.
If you didn't know what was going on, I looked like a completely unstable person, which
That's
would have been
pretty
hilarious.
fantastic.
Yeah, imagine if they were in your feet and you were wiggling your feet all the time.
Just jumping around all day.
But
Just like, just shaking him.
so like,
Awesome.
like if you're like climbing, like say you're a tower dog,
Sure.
communication tower worker, I would not suggest those.
Yeah,
It
that
mess with your
particular one.
grip on your climbing, and if you gotta take your foot or hand off the ladder and shake it all the time, that's just bad.
Well, that kind of goes around to like what I just said at the beginning too, is make sure, don't just buy them if it says, it'll keep your hands warm, it'll keep your feet warm. Read the instructions.
Yeah,
Find out, do you got to
for
shake
sure.
this thing? Can you just store it? Can it go right up on your skin? I do know for that cold weather hands and feet, though, we had a gal that worked for us for years. I worked personally with her for like 10 years straight, and she hated the cold in the winter, and she did a lot of walking, rode the bus, and she bought electric mittens and electric socks.
Really
Yep. And you put it was like 3 or 4 AA batteries
crazy.
in this huge pack that went around your wrist or your ankles. And then
Nice.
you had warm hands and warm feet.
I need those.
Yeah.
I need to sleep.
Aaron
in
would
those.
just hang out with them all the time. But they were awesome, and she swore by them. She bought rechargeable batteries for them, and so she would always have, like, one day she'd be using them, and the next day she'd switch over to the batteries on the charger and put those ones back on the charger, and
For
she
a
was always good to
construction
go.
application, though, you think they'd hold up?
Yeah, they lasted like 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, but she probably wasn't a construction worker.
Oh, I mean, that's true. She was just on her feet all day, but it's just
Right.
like it's either a sock. I think the socks would probably be fine
Yeah,
because you're trampling, but the mitten,
might get tore up if
I
you're
don't know how
lifting
much.
bricks and steel. but
Yeah.
I still think those are cool.
Oh,
I
they were
should check
great.
Those out. All right, so let's talk about keeping the head warm. So most of these sites require hard hats. They don't care it's cold out. You got to wear a hard hat.
That can be such a pain.
So they got these things that go completely over your hard hat. If your head wasn't big enough with the hard hat, we have one in our training center. They go completely over and button up. And then they have these things, these other ones that hook inside your hard hat to your hard hat liner and come around. What's your thoughts on those?
I mean, like everything, read the instructions. I think the big one that buttons up over the top of the hard hat, it's probably not bad as long as you don't have to do a lot of moving around. Because you kind of lose some of your maneuverability, your head, you lose
Maybe
your vision.
some peripheral vision.
Yeah, exactly.
Could
So if
cause
you're
some issues.
Yeah, but if it's real windy and you don't have to do a lot of moving around on the job site and there isn't like equipment running and stuff, probably not a bad option. The other one that actually goes inside the liner, I've never used, I'm not very familiar with, but I do have other experience where it's like trying to wear a beanie or a hood under your hard hat,
Yeah, I always do that.
and it can be all right, but you can't really get your hard hat as good as you normally can on, and so it can just like blow away.
Yeah, you got to wrench it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always have.
And then you're dealing with the headache and
I'll tell you what, with COVID and with this winter work, I notice there's less complaints of wearing that face covering outside. Because
Yeah.
it actually
keeps your face a little warm.
Yeah, it does keep your. I've had this Carhartt hat forever. It goes right under my hard hat, and I'm probably saying this wrong, but balaclava, potato.
Maybe it
potato.
is clava.
I don't know, but it always had a built-in one of those, and I would, if I'm ever outside in the winter, I have that on for sure because keeping that over my face and just as little skin exposed as possible. That helps out a lot. I love that thing.
I know a lot of my
love that thing.
contractors for that whole, you need a face covering. They've gone to those neck
Gaiters.
yeah.
Okay.
What's that material? It's like a nylon, I think.
Okay.
And you can just pull them up over your
Right.
I mean, so now they
Yeah.
have those so common everywhere that
Yeah.
everybody's out in the winter with them on, and they're all talking about how much more comfortable they are. They're
Yeah,
like, man,
for
we should
sure.
have just had these out all year anyways.
Yeah, it's nice. It's hard for me to get guys to wear extra stuff in the winter.
Yeah.
And especially too, like some folks that are a lot bigger, it's not really an issue for them. They have this natural insulation with the adipose tissue. And so, when you make rules, like you have to wear this, you have to wear that, sometimes it's hard to get people to wear all the winter weather gear.
Yeah, they're finally in their element. They're like, hey, I'm actually comfortable like working right now.
Yeah. So that's something to consider if you're making rules on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got one that comes up often, and it's something all your employees should always know for winter because it's not something normally taught, and it's not something people really go over in their winter training, but that's dehydration in the winter.
How's that work?
Now, dehydration in the winter is very common. And in fact, it's a lot more common than people even seem to realize. Anytime you have a sharp drop in any of your humidity, the human body starts to lose a lot of its water naturally. Anytime you've got that huge inequality and you've got a lot of dry air and you're breathing in that dry air, the body wants to dry out naturally. That's normal. And so when you have that sort of a climate, we have a really, really tough time of making sure that we're drinking enough water, making sure that, our system is well hydrated. You'll notice that a lot of people have that natural shrinkage in the winter. Jewelers will tell you that, that your fingers are going to shrink. And
This is a family show. You can't talk about shrinkage.
oh
on
my
this
goodness.
show.
I discuss the matters at hand. You leave me alone now. But it's really important to get that extra water in, and it's not something people think about when it's winter. In the summer when you're sweating and you're losing a ton of that water, and then it sits on your skin and helps pull extra moisture right through your skin. It's obvious. It's like, oh yeah, I'm wearing a gallon of water right now. I definitely lost a bunch of water. But in the wintertime, you are losing a bunch of water to that dry air, and dehydration becomes a very serious problem.
Speaking of that, another issue with winter weather working is the dry hands and lips,
Mm-hmm.
all the cracking. Now you have more openings in your body for chemicals to get in, for bloodborne pathogens to get in.
Sure.
So I can't get guys to put on lotion either.
Dude, my hands dry out and bleed like crazy if I'm not every day trying to moisturize.
How do you get a construction worker to put on lotion, though?
It's tough. I mean, seriously, is he going to take a break and pop out a bottle of Jergens and just start going to town, or rubbing his hands up and then putting his gloves back on? Like, I don't think so.
It's,
A few of them will.
I don't think, maybe you should do it at work, but they should be doing it at home. They should be keeping that skin hydrated too.
Yeah.
Because that drying and that cracking, it's bad for
They have some
pathogens,
really
skin
awesome
chemicals
balms.
in there. Yeah,
There's some
for
really
sure.
good stuff for your hands.
I think the key is like Gojo is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got, what is it, pumice stone
Yeah, it's
in
got
it
that.
for like,
Depending on which one, but yeah.
yeah. So a lot of the plants we go to, they have that, and the guys use that because it gets that grease off and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we should get a dispenser with some type of man brand lotion. It's got to be like Gojo brand lotion. It's got to be like tough guy hand stuff.
Instant death lotion.
Yeah, it's got to say stuff like that.
Right,
And then a guy
yeah.
be like, I can still be cool and use this.
I don't know.
But if it was there and it was available,
I
Yeah.
honestly think they would probably just use it.
I don't know
if it was
it's gonna
around.
happen, but it's got to be labeled cool too. It's got to have skulls on it.
Death lotion.
Yeah. So, all right. So there's a lot of issues that people don't think of when it comes to winter weather, such as dehydration and bloodborne pathogen and HAZCOM, transmission through cracked skin,
Oh yeah.
and not even mentioning the slips, trips, and falls. I mean, how many times do we get a call every year if it's a recordable case or not?
There's quite
if
a
an
few.
employee slipped in a parking lot on the ice.
Now I haven't. Well, we get quite a few, but I haven't. And I've been throwing this number around, so I have it just like ready. But we haven't got a good count out of 19 or 20. But in 2018, there's over 5,000 deaths at work. 791 of those were slip, trips, and falls.
How many? Probably, unless you had the article up, but I wonder how many
Right.
of those were like winter, like
Winter
ice
related,
related.
yeah. Couldn't tell you, but
But
it's so easy. People
uh,
falling just at standing height can get so hurt.
there's safety campaigns that insurance carriers do every year. Walk like a penguin. They
Right.
even bring this huge giant penguin out on site and teach how to walk.
Walk like this penguin.
Seriously, because and I'm like, whatever, this is whatever. But then I tried it one time, when it was really, really, really icy, I started shuffling my feet.
Got like kind of a wide stance, kind of shuffled.
And I've been doing it ever since. It's not like waddle. You're not supposed to waddle like a penguin. That would make you fall more. But you
just kinda-
slide your feet.
He's doing some hand motions you guys
Yeah,
can't see.
like one of those
he's making
Nordic
really
track
good eye
ski
contact
machine,
and doing
like
some
cross
motions.
country skiing. Like you shuffle your feet back and
Yeah,
forward.
I got you.
And it does help you stay quite stable. Big issue is that first step out of that vehicle.
Oh heck yeah!
Yeah, I've done that before.
Oh my gosh, we had a guy who, I mean, it wasn't as cold weather, but he did that. He hopped right off of a tracked piece of equipment, slid on the gravel, and he split his head open on the tracks.
Oh man, just jumped out like normal.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd
just
be
hopped
bad.
away. But I mean, could you imagine now if you're starting to put like ice and snow on top of all that?
Right. And something too, in safety, something that people don't do a lot makes it more hazardous. So
What's that?
anything
Oh.
that you don't do
I see.
frequently.
Infrequency makes it more hazardous. Yeah, exactly.
So like all of a sudden you got a guy in a skid loader pushing snow for 8 hours.
Right. He doesn't do that at all.
He might have hearing issues from that. He could have vibration issues from that.
Mhm.
So thinking about all those kind of things. All right. Well, we are out of time, everybody. Thanks for joining this episode number 11 of the Evil Safety Dudes.
Tune in next time to listen to us.
All right. Stay safe out there.